Hello everyone, welcome back to Empower Yourself. Today we will be learning about process validation. Let us see the introduction, how validation has been started, and how it has come into force. The concept of validation was first proposed by two Food and Drug Administration officials, Ted Bayer and Bud Loftus, in the mid 1970s in order to improve the quality of pharmaceuticals. The first validation activities were focused on the processes involved in making the products, but later it quickly spread to associated processes including environmental control, media fills, equipment sanitization, and purified water production. So, firstly, it was started by Ted Bayer and Bud Loftus in mid 1970s. So, it has been introduced to improve the quality of the pharmaceutical. So, firstly, it was introduced for the process that is involved in making the products, but later it has been extended to other areas too. Let us see the definition. The FDA defines process validation as the collection and evaluation of data from the process design state through commercial production, which establishes scientific evidence that a process is capable of consistently delivering a quality product. So it clearly says that it is the collection and evaluation of the data during the process design up to the commercial production of the product. So, all those with the scientific evidence proving that the process is able to deliver consistently all the requirements. So, here comes the goal of the validation. Why actually validation is needed and why we have to validate the things. The goal of validation is to ensure that quality is built into the system at every step and not just tested for at the end. So each and every step of the system, we have to ensure that the quality is built at all the cases, but not just at the end of the finished product. So that's why validation is important. Validation activities include training on production material and operating procedures, training of the person involved, and monitoring of the system. So, during the conduction of the validation, the persons has to be trained on how the activity has to be monitored and how the things have to go one after the other operations. So, finally, the goal of validation is to build quality at every step. So, what are the reasons that are behind validation? So, here comes the quality assurance, economics, and compliance. Quality assurance. Quality cannot be assured by daily quality control testing because of the limitations of statistical samples and the limited facilities of finished product testing. When we look into this, that quality assurance is the main important thing. On a daily basis, we have the limitations to a particular test or the analysis of the product, but it cannot give the complete information how the product has undergone and what are the steps to be monitored and how can we assure that it is giving the quality. So to know all these things, the validation is required. Next is economics. Due to successful validation, there is a decrease in the sampling and testing procedures, and there will be less number of rejections and retesting. This leads to cost saving benefits. So, if we conduct the validation, so we can establish the limitation for the samples as well as what type of test to be conducted So all this will be finalized, or all this will be concluded during the validation. So after the validation, it will be very easy, so that there will not be any rejections and retesting, which automatically leads to cost saving benefits. Next, compliance. For compliance to current good manufacturing practices, validation is essential. So to meet all the requirements of the regulatory requirements, our compliance and the results that are meeting will be helpful, that we are with the current good manufacturing practices. So it, with validation, we can meet all those requirements. So for that, validation is essential. So elements of validation. Here the main element is the qualification. Qualification is a prerequisite of validation. So qualification of all the things, that is starting from the equipment to the raw materials that are being used in the production of a product. So qualification includes design qualification, installation qualification, operational qualification, and performance qualification as well. So here the design qualification includes the compliance of the design with GMP should be demonstrated during the design qualification. So it gives that the equipment that is being used in the manufacturing of the product is suitable to produce the product which we are expecting that the product has to give. Next is installation qualification. So installation qualification, during the installation qualification we can check that whether the piping services and the instrument is working properly or not, or all the calibrations are in proper conditions, and verification of the material of construction as well, sources of space and materials that have been installed or that have been put into the design of the equipment. The operational qualification. So here comes whether the equipment is being performing the type of criteria that is being required during the operation, and it helps in defining the upper and the lower limits and the worst case limits, how the equipment is being operated. Next is performance qualification. So this helps in giving the knowledge and establishing the limits, how the product is being produced, and whether the product is being produced in a manner that we are getting the limits and that we are getting the results in the acceptance criteria. So here comes the stages of process validation. So the process, how a process is being designed, how it occurs, and how it is being monitored. That includes 3 stages, that is process design, process qualification, continued process verification. In the process design, the commercial manufacturing process is defined. So during this stage, based on the knowledge gained through the development and scale-up activities, we would establish the commercial manufacturing process. So this is the first and foremost stage where we use different kind of processes and establish the final process that is giving the actual acceptance criteria results. Process qualification. The design is evaluated to determine whether the process meets the demands of reproducibility. So this is the stage where the process that has been defined is giving the results which can be reproduced at any time by anyone and in whatever the circumstance it could be, maintaining all their specification limits, maintaining all the operational parameter limits. So all this will be evaluated during process qualification. So after process qualification, then comes the continued process verification. So this is the case where ongoing assurance that all the process remain in state of control. So this is the ongoing job or ongoing activity where it assures that the process that has been established or defined is in the state of control and producing all the results in the same way and is in the trend. Let us see the types of process validation. Those include 4 types: prospective validation, retrospective validation, concurrent validation, and revalidation. Prospective validation. Validation conducted prior to the distribution of the new product. So this is the validation where 3 consecutive batches are taken and where the validation is done before the distribution of the product into the market. Retrospective validation. This is conducted in a product already distributed based on accumulated data of production, testing, and controls. So this is the case where the product has already been distributed and we have all the data related to the type of the product, including how the production activities have been done, how the results, testing results are there, and what are the controls that have been taken for all those things if there are any non-compliance in the product. So this could be the best example for this could be the annual product quality review. Concurrent validation. Information generated during the implementation of the system. For example, it could be the customer requirement or whenever there is a long duration for the campaign basis. So in such cases, so during this implementation, the information is generated. So such a type of validation can be considered to be the concurrent validation. Revalidation. Whenever there are changes in the established system, we can go with the revalidation. For example, a product has been established and we wanted to do some minor changes, like it could be the scale up or scale down or introduction of KSM or starting material vendors. So change in facility or plant. So in all such cases, revalidation can be initiated. So why only 3 batches for validation? As we know that 3 batches concept is being used during the validation. So here the information is given. So when we start with the validation, whatever the case it could be, the first batch could be considered to be the accidental batch. So this is the batch that we get accidentally. That means all the requirements are met and we are getting the results as per the requirements that are being implemented. So this is considered to be the accidental batch. Second batch, it could be the informative or the regulator batch. So this batch gives us the information that the process that is being followed is giving all the results as per our requirement, as per the established criteria, as per the acceptance criteria. So with this we can get some information that the process, that the limits or the criteria that have been included are giving the results as per the acceptance criteria. And third batch is called to be the validated batch. From as we are getting the information from the first batch, second batch, and the third batch is also giving the same results, then that batch could be considered to be the validated batch. As we can see that first batch is the accidental batch and second batch is giving information, and the third batch is giving just the confidence, and that confidence is called to be the validated, and that is the validated batch. So this is the reason why we go with the 3 validation batches for any kind of validation. So to conduct any validation, here is a system that we need to be followed. That system includes the change control system. So change control system is followed to conduct validation. Why a change control is required? So we can see it here. Change control is defined as a formal system by which qualified representatives of appropriate disciplines review proposed or actual change that might affect a validated status. So this is a formal system where a person, a qualified representative, will check out what type of the change it is been undergoing, and what type of and how it is going to impact the already established validated status, and what are the things that we need to be monitored, and how the process or how the validation process has to go on. So all this will be included in this change control. So change control is a lifetime monitoring approach. So this is one of the lifetime monitoring approach, and it has to be followed in any type of case. So to conduct a validation, we need to have validation master plan as well as validation protocol. So the validation master plan, it describes and draws the summarized document of the whole project. So whatever the project that we are going to conduct, either it could be the qualification or it could be the validation of the process, everything will be summarized in the validation master plan, and it gives a summarized document that how the validation has to be conducted and how it has to be monitored. All this will be included in the validation master plan. After including all the information in the validation master plan, then we have to proceed with the validation protocol. So to conduct any type of validation, these are the main important things. So in the validation protocol, the following are the contents that has to be included. That could be the general information of the product and the objective, what is the type of validation that is being conducted has to be included. So list of the equipments and the qualification status. So different types of the equipments that are being used in the manufacturing of the product and their qualification status. As we have seen that qualification is the prerequisite of the validation. So qualification status of the equipments have to be included. Next, the manufacturing procedure. How the product is being manufactured. It could be in a short form, and how it will be manufactured, and what is the process and what is the process flow. All this can be included in the manufacturing procedures. Critical parameters. So what are the critical parameters that has to be monitored during the validation? So there could be some in-process controls, and there will be some maintenance temperatures which are very critical to get the molecule or to get the acceptance limits to meet. So all this have to be covered in. Even the sampling tests and the specifications that a product has to undergo. Sampling, whether it is being normal sampling or any additional samplings are required, and what are the type of durations that has to be taken, and what are the tests that have to be considered, and the specifications that have to be analyzed. So all such type of details have to be included, even the yield range. So all this have to be included in the validation protocol. Next, the acceptance criteria. So for all this, what are the acceptance criteria that have the product that is being validated has to meet? So all this have to be included in the validation master plan, and all this have to be executed during the validation. So after completion of the validation, by following all the contents that have been provided in the validation protocol, this will be followed by the validation team, where the validation personnel, the persons who are involved in the validation activity, will be trained and given the knowledge and are being monitored. So if there are any cases where there are any deviations or any non-compliance that are being observed during the manufacture of the product, all this have to be recorded, and all this have to be considered during the validation, and check whether the results are meeting the acceptance criteria and following all the GMP requirements. The validation have to be carried out. So after the completion of the validation, all this data has to be compiled in the report format, that we call it to be the validation report. So whatever the information, whatever the contents of the validation is given in the protocol, we need to check all these have to be compiled, and we need to give out the results. So that is why we say to be the documented evidence. So all the results and all the activities that have been performed should be recorded, and it has to be presented in the form of a validation report. So here are some of the references, that is ICH Q7 WHO TRS NX 7 EU NX 15 to EU guidelines, FDA guidelines. So here we can learn about the process validation. The conclusion. So process validation is a major requirement and the key element in assuring that the quality goals are met. So it is the key element which gives us the assurance that the quality is being met in all the stages. I hope you learned and gained the knowledge about the process validation, and it is been helpful to you, and I hope this is a very good platform that has helped you to learn about process validation. Thank you for watching and learning. Do comment your thoughts in the comment section so that it will be helpful for others, and it will be a great platform to learn. Thank you so much for watching and learning. Have a great day.